Welcome to Radiant Health, how to create health from the inside out. I'm your host, Lori Wakov, and I'm so glad that you're joining us today. I hope that you found a nice quiet space that you can just sit back, relax, embrace it, take it all in, because you never know, today might be the day that you hear just what you need to hear. And I'm so excited to have our guest with us today, Brenda Fredericks. Brenda is a mother and middle school teacher turned transformational coach. She guides people on their journey to be authentic and live vibrant, meaningful lives. She teaches morning practices in her signature program, Reveal, and also is the founder of Body Love, a program designed to show women how to create a new healthy relationship with their bodies so they can experience more joy, ease, and sexiness in their lives. Brenda, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's so good to be here, Lori. And I love hearing that. I love hearing that women can have more joy, ease, and sexiness in their life because who doesn't want that?
Exactly. And I think that we let it go as we get older, and we start to not even realize that we don't embrace our bodies and embrace that joy and
So
sexiness
true.
anymore.
So
So
true.
yeah, so first I want to start with what do you consider radiant health? What does radiant health mean to you?
I love that question. And I love the title, Radiant Health. I love to use the word radiant because it implies that I'm glowing, that women are glowing, because we really do have a glow. When a woman walks in the room and she is owning herself and owning her beauty and owning her brilliance and owning her gifts, everyone is drawn to her. She's a magnet, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So owning that fully is radiant, and that to me is taking exquisite care of yourself.
Mm, I completely agree. Like you said, when you are radiant inside, it attracts it back to you and you radiate it on the outside. I completely agree with that.
100%.
And what would you say, like, the radiant health, how has that been a key to your success?
Oh my God. Well, I have learned to really take care of myself from the inside out. And there's so much to that. There's so much that we can do to take care of ourselves. Um, it's so deep. People often think of self-care as getting a manicure or buying yourself flowers, and those things are all wonderful. But what I'm talking about is so much deeper, right? It's so much deeper. Like those things are really great, but radiant health to me is um, having boundaries, speaking the truth, right?
Yes.
Making sure I get enough sleep, um, and taking exquisite care of my body. What do I put in my body? Making sure I get enough rest. I do a lot of energy accounting where I work with my energy. So when I'm tired, I sit and rest. When I have a lot of energy, I'll take a walk or clean or do work. So my movement is very feminine, and all of that just contributes to me actually working with my system. Women have a lot of power, and I have a lot of power and electricity. And what I've learned, I'm 52 now, is I've learned how to ride this thing. Like I've learned how to ride this thing
That's,
with,
yeah.
yeah,
What a
yeah,
great way to put it. I
yeah,
love that.
yeah, totally. So women have a lot of power and energy. We just have to learn how to ride it. And to me, that means going with the flow of who I truly am. I'm a very feminine being. Women are very feminine. Unfortunately, we're in a masculine world, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but we're very production oriented. So when
Yes.
I'm very production oriented, I'm exhausted. I had a career as a middle school teacher in public school for 22 years, and I was exhausted. I was drained and exhausted raising my children and doing all of those things. It was very production based and exterior motivated.
Yes.
Um, and that's exhausting. So now I learn how to work with my emotions, work with my feelings, work with my desire.
You
Desire
know,
is super fun. Yeah.
yeah. Well, what I like, what I'm hearing is, so something I do is, I try to listen to my body. So if I'm tired, I will slow down, and maybe I'll make sure I get to bed early, which is really hard for me. But I'm learning, the older I get, the more I learn that yes, if you're tired and you're drained, go to bed.
Yeah,
Everything can wait. It's okay. But what
it's
I heard
fun.
you say, yeah, it's fine. It's like give yourself, give yourself grace. It's okay. You don't have to be productive till midnight to be successful. But
You
what
don't
I,
even have to be productive at all.
you know what, and that's a good point.
Some,
And
yeah,
something I'm still working on learning. It
I
just,
know. Me too. It's very ingrained in us. And I know you were going to go and ask a question, and we can do that. That it just came to me.
yeah.
Some days you just don't want to be productive. And there's actually a way to do your work and bring your work out in the world without it being hard and fast. Like you can work with your system.
And that's been a big thing for me, hard for me to be in that state of being and not in a constant state of doing. And this is what I was going to mention. What I liked, what I heard you say is, and it never occurred to me though, is just about listening to your body. And you said if you have energy, you'll go out and you'll go for a walk. I, that doesn't even occur to me. Like if I'm feeling good, and it doesn't even occur to me to like honor that within my body, because
Mhm.
it kind of is your body telling you, you I need to go, I need to get out into nature, I need to get some fresh air.
Yeah, 100%. The biggest change for me is that right now I'm in a constant conversation with my body. It's all day long. It's all night long. It's all the time. I am always in a conversation with my body.
Wow, that's it's honestly, it's something I haven't really thought about. Like for me, I feel like I'm always working on my mindset.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know that I really pay that much attention to my body until it's in pain.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's a practice. We're really not taught that. Um I think younger people are being taught that more today, right?
I
But
agree.
but us being in our 50s, I know I wasn't taught that. I learned that along the way, and I learned it through trial and error, and I learned it by going to the opposite extreme and being exhausted. And I started listening to my body, and now I just listen to her all the time. I'm always in a conversation, but we're taught to value what's in our mind, and what's in our mind is very important, right? It's very important, and it has a lot of value. But our wisdom lies in our bodies, and our
Yeah.
truth lies in our bodies. Our desire lies in our bodies, and our desire is who we are in the world. Our desire is what helps us grow. Like our desire, like when a woman listens to her desire, and this is part of what I work on in my practices class and in body love, is what are your desires? Because when you think about what your desires are, they're actually calling you to grow. They're calling you to be the woman that you want to be. They're calling you to drop off anything that's not serving you anymore, right? So
Yeah.
if you want partnership in your life, or you want a business with, whatever, however much money you want to make, you need to be the woman who can have that thing, which means you need to learn the behaviors in order to have that thing. And so inside of that, you're stretching and growing. So your desire is what leads you, and I believe that it stems in your body.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love that. And is that where, so I don't know exactly how to ask this, but the feminine nature, you were mentioning that earlier.
Mhm.
How do we get, how do we find our feminine nature? Is that the right way to say that, to ask that?
So, so how do we find our feminine nature? I love that question. So honestly, when you're asking that question, I'm not really sure what you mean, but I'm just going to share what's happening for me right now.
Yes, please.
Is I'm just tuning into my body. Like, how do I find my feminine nature? And actually, that's my answer, because I wasn't sure how I was going to answer that question. But I just tuned into my body, and that is actually the answer to the question.
Okay, that makes
It,
sense.
yeah, is tuning into your body, and it's a practice. So I started meditating years back. I started a meditation practice. I always wanted a meditation practice, and I never did it. because I couldn't sit still. I didn't put time, I didn't put effort or time into it. And that's really fine because whenever we're ready for something is when we do it, right? You don't do
Absolutely.
anything 1 minute before you're ready, right?
Exactly.
But when I started my meditation practice is when I really started truly sitting with myself and being with myself. And I started getting downloads and inspirations, and I just started resting. And my observer, this is a whole other conversation, but my observer started kicking in. So I was able to witness myself in a new way. And now that I have a meditation practice, and I don't meditate every day anymore,
Okay.
um, but I'm able to feel into my body. And it's a way that I've learned to tap into my intuition. And when I tap into my intuition, that's where I get my messages. So when I say our wisdom and our desires come from our body, that's really what I mean, is that your intuition is whispering to you all the time. But if we're moving and going and doing and being and trying to be productive and moving faster than our systems
Hmm.
can allow, we don't hear that. We miss all the gold.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because that was what I was going to ask. It sounded to me like kind of listening to your intuition, and yep, that's just what you said. And
Yeah.
that's something I try to practice every day, but I have to be honest, it's hard for me. It's
Hmm.
because I feel like I get different feedback and I'm not quite sure, am I listening to my heart or am I
I
listening to my brain?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
generally something that people
It
struggle
is.
with, or is
It
that just?
is. It
Mhm.
is. And I love your vulnerability and sharing that it's hard for you. And I'm going to meet you there and say it's hard for me too sometimes. I teach body love because I'm always learning body love, right? And I'm not perfect at it. It's a practice. The idea isn't even to be perfect at it. But yeah, I go into my head a lot, but my practice is to come back to my body, and sometimes I'm listening to my heart, sometimes I'm listening to my pussy, sometimes my mind has something to say. And we have a whole committee inside of us.
Yeah,
There's a whole committee going on with different
that's
voices and
true.
different parts, including our little girl. We have a teenager in there, we have hurt parts, we have wise parts. I have a crone in there who's got some wisdom, you know what I mean? And so they're all inside of us. So learning to tune into my body, I now know what voice of mine is leading.
Wow.
And then I get to decide. And this is where we get really sovereign with our bodies and our lives. I get to decide who's leading this thing, and it's my woman who leads, as opposed to my inner child. So I can give you a little example if you want.
Sure.
I had a problem with mice in my house,
Okay.
and I just had professionals come in, thank goodness, because they were driving me crazy. But when the mice would come, I would go into absolute terror. I would do this stereotypical thing where I would start screaming bloody murder. Like, it was so bizarre. And I was terrified. And I
Wow.
was crying. Yeah. I mean, thank God it's fixed now, but that was my little girl leading the show. My
Yes.
inner little girl I had a bad experience with spiders when I was a child, and I'm still working on healing that. And so when I see the mouse or a cockroach, whatever the thing is, I get terrified. So that's
Wow.
my little girl leading the show. And then I can recognize that that's happening. And then my woman is like, okay, we're going to handle this thing. And I call
Right.
the pest control places, and then it's handled and it's paid for and taken care of. So it's like, oh, my woman gets to lead the show, not my hurt little girl. Now imagine we take a situation like that and we put it into relationships, right?
Yes.
So we really need to know who's running the show, especially when it comes to sex and communication. You want your woman to be running the show in your life, not your hurt child.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
so powerful because that really, I mean, what a great analogy. And
Yeah.
it's true. We let these other uh, roles, or I guess what we have inside of us,
Yeah. Yeah. And we
run.
all do it. And I did it. I mean, I just did it last week with the mice. It's okay, you know. And I wanted to also go back to when you said before about your heart and your mind, and you can't do it wrong. You know, you can't do it wrong. And that's why what I teach in body love and in my practices class is it's practice. You
Yes.
know, we're not going for perfection. You know, the system that we live in our society, this masculine productive based system, is very goal oriented. We need to get it right.
Right.
You know, we need to get it right. And if we just remove that entire construct and start looking at, well, how can we, instead of having competition with the world or being the best, we just work on mastery with ourselves, right? So we're
Yes.
working with ourselves and our bodies. And what pushes me, not even pushes, what motivates me is being the best that I can be, living the best life that I can. So sometimes I don't do it great, you know, or I don't say things the way I want to say it, or I forget to meditate, or I scream when there's mice. Um, you know, the practice is just noticing it and coming back to myself. And then the next question is, okay, how do I want to proceed from here? And we always have a choice. And that's why it's important to go slow, because if we're going really fast, we don't take a moment to say, how can I proceed from here? We're just going and going and going.
Right.
And that's exhausting and draining. And here's the thing about women, it's really true for men too, but you know, we're talking about women, especially even as a mother. What we do and how much we take care of ourselves or don't take care of ourselves in all of these ways ripples out into the world. It ripples out, let's bring it even closer than the world, it ripples into our family.
Hmm.
It's our partners, our children, our friends, the people we work with. um, so when we take care of ourselves, it everyone benefits, and when we don't, the opposite is true as well.
Yeah, that's so true. So true. Let's see, there's a couple things I just wanted to mention about, you're so right. When we are striving to be so productive and do it perfectly, and for, at least for me, if I feel like I can't accomplish that, then I almost get debilitated, like, and I just am stagnant. And so instead of moving forward, I'm almost not doing anything, because
Yeah.
it's I guess in a way for me it's easier to not do anything and move forward than it is to take that, not even risk, but just, go into something that I already know is I'm going to fail at, because it's really an impossible thing to strive for,
Yeah,
whatever it is.
100%. I'm so glad you said that, because we can really just take bite-sized pieces. You know, like when you start a new sport, or let's just say running, you don't just run 10 miles. You know, I'm not running right now, but in the past when I took up a running habit, I would walk for 5 minutes, then I would walk fast, then I would run for 5 minutes, or probably even less, and do it in increments and build up. But if I was going to say, I'm going to start running and I'm going to run 10 miles, which I probably did that as a teenager, um, it's exhausting, or you can't do it. And then of course we feel like a failure.
Right. That's a good point. That's a good way to put it. Like, we can chunk it. We can do little bits and pieces at a
Totally.
time.
100%. 100%. And our minds are set up that way to feel successful. You know, I used to be a teacher, and when I had students who couldn't do the whole page of math because it looked like so much, I would just divide the paper in four parts and say, okay, let's just chunk it. Let's do this part right here. And then they're able to do it because it's more doable. So it's like, what's the right size chunk for you? What's the right size chunk for me? It's different.
Oh, good point. And that's
Yeah.
what we kind of learn, is what's right for us.
out in the world, it's not that way. You
Mm-mm.
know, the masculine model is like, oh, there's one way to be successful. And it's just not true.
Exactly. No, I completely agree. And I wanted to mention too, you're so right, like about how it affects our family, how we are, treating ourselves.
Yeah,
And I see that like in my head, I think I'm this awesome mother, but
I bet you are.
well, thank you. Probably talk to my kids. But then I see certain behaviors that I have and I see how it affects them. And I realize it's to me it's so like subtle. Like I don't even realize I'm doing it until I see it mirrored back at me
Yeah.
in their reactions or their behaviors. And I realize, oh wow, here I thought I had worked on myself all these years and I was,
Yeah. Well,
getting
you did. You did. There are little mirrors, right? They're
yeah,
just our walking mirrors, and it's exciting and wonderful and also terrifying. We could see our best and our worst habits in them because they just pick it up, but we do get to see ourselves, and then we do get to use that. We can change ourselves and talk to them about it. That's what I do.
yeah. No, I think that's wonderful. And that's what yeah, that's what I'm trying to accomplish too. And
Yeah.
I was going to ask you like how you practice this, and I know you've been kind of talking about different ways that you do using your intuition and meditating. What would you say would be one really valuable piece of information that our viewers can take away and use as a way of getting back in tune with their body and learning to
Mhm.
love their body and themselves and all that that encompasses?
Such a great question. Oh my God, there's so many answers.
I
Well,
bet.
number one that I already said is people can meditate. And I hear all the time, I don't like to meditate, or I can't meditate, or I'm not good at meditating. It's just like yoga. You don't go to yoga. Flexible people don't go to yoga. You go to yoga to be flexible, right? And sometimes I've been meditating for, maybe a decade. Um, I still meditate and my monkey mind is going crazy, So it's not about, being in this Zen position all the time. It's
Right.
just it's about getting on the mat and doing it. So that's one thing. Meditating is one thing. And movement is just a great thing to do. Like, what do you love to do? I love to dance. Before this call, I got ready for this call by dancing.
Really?
Yeah. I
What,
put
what a
Yeah,
great idea. I love to dance too. I
yeah,
should do that.
yeah, it's so much fun. And what a feminine activity. I put on a favorite song. I even have a playlist. It's called Get Into State. Actually, it's called Get Into State, y'all. My kids like to make fun of it. But it just has songs on it that I love. And I put it on. I didn't put that one on. I put another song on to play before this call just to get myself into my body. Because before that, I was like making coffee, I was making a shake, and I was like, okay, I need to settle into my body now. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to look at notes to prepare for this call. I don't need to do anything. It's all inside of me. So the only thing I need to do is tap into myself. So movement is great. And, it doesn't have to be even traditional dancing. It could be whatever music you like. Just also get on the floor. Sometimes if I'm having a lot of feelings, if I'm angry or really sad or experiencing grief, I have a playlist for that as well. And I'll
Cool.
just get on the floor and I'll like beat my fists and let out the anger. I have some really good angry songs. And then I have some grief songs where I just like go into the grief. And it's amazing. In one song, the tears can just come, and then I always end with a song that kind of integrates it all together. Um, so I'm taking all the parts of me, whatever it is, anger, sadness, there's always both
Yeah.
that we can access very quickly as women, and bringing that all integrated into my body to go out in the world. because I don't want to separate from any of those things. I don't want to separate from my anger or my grief. I just want to bring it in. And again, going back to before, I don't want to lead from those places.
Yeah.
I don't want to walk around, unless I'm experiencing something and that's just the way it is. But I want to lead from my woman, like now, right?
Yes.
And I want to be really clear. If you're having grief, of course you're going to lead from that, depending on what's happening in your life. I don't mean it like that. But that's one tip that people can do watching this, is just move your bodies and just enjoy it. Like, put on something that you love to move in, whatever it is, or naked, and just move.
I love that. And I admit, so usually if I'm home by myself, which is rare these days,
Yeah.
but when I am, I admit, I turn on music and I do dance, because
Yeah.
it just brings me joy and happiness. But I never thought of doing that before something like this, like doing an interview, because I imagine it would bring empowerment as well.
It really does. It's almost like a meditation. It's almost like I'm talking about the same thing with both. Well, they both have the same feeling for me. They both get me into my body.
And that is really the purpose, isn't it?
Exactly. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, the movement, they both do different things. The movement like really gets me deep into my body, and I'm focusing on the song and the words that I love. And like, usually I'll choose something that like, penetrates my soul, um the meditation quiets me down. Sometimes my mind is just going and there's nothing I could do about that. But I can really hear my intuition, you know, and and the movement before something like this, because I have a lot of energy. I'm excited and I'm nervous before something like this, and so it's like, what do I do with that energy? So it's what I was saying before, energy accounting. I'm actually working with the energy. I'm using it, and I have a whole plan. After this call, I'm going to go walk the beach because I'm going to have a lot of energy after this, because I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
So use this energy to chat with a friend and walk the beach.
That's great. I love that, because it just ties exactly what you said earlier about, if you have the energy, work with it.
Exactly.
And
And then if you think about it, all of those things in my day are incorporating all the things that I love, right? I'm dancing, I'm moving. Sometimes I'll use my energy to wash dishes. Because I have energy and I can't sit. Like, I'm at my computer a lot working or working with clients. And it's sitting, working. And then I need to actually get up. So that's when I wash my dishes, or I'll do some laundry, or I'll clean. And then other
okay.
times I can't even do that. I can feel that my body wants to be outside and walk, or I just need to get out of my house. And one of my desires is to be at the beach every day. And so I make sure that I do that. It's easy. It's actually easy.
It is, and you brought to my attention that might be why I like to empty the dishwasher, or rinse the dishes, or fold the
Yeah.
laundry. So that makes sense.
Yeah. It's a good use of your energy, and it feels good. And then it contributes to your home, like to creating your home as your launch pad for your life. Like, I love putting love and energy into my home. Like, I really love that.
Oh, and that's, oh, I could talk to you for days. There's so
I
many
know.
different like avenues, but I know that we're getting close with time, and I want to make sure that I give you time to share. I know that you are being so generous and offering a free gift to our viewers, so I want to make sure to give you time to let us know what you're offering.
Thank you so much. This is so great. I know we could just talk forever. Too bad we can't walk the beach together after.
I know, I'd love that.
So I teach body love and my practices class, and on my website is a strategy session. So I'm offering a free 20-minute strategy session. If you want to talk about your body or any of the things that we've tapped into today in this talk, you can just schedule that on my website, and that is my free gift.
Oh, I love that. It sounds, I would love to take one of your classes. It sounds like so so beneficial, and something that we don't realize how important it is.
It's so great. It's so good. I talk to a lot of women, and everyone that I talk to, and it doesn't matter who it is, and this is including me, we all want to love our bodies more. We all want to feel better in our bodies. We all want to put on a bathing suit or jeans or whatever it is and just feel good in our bodies. We're sick of the negative self-talk.
Yeah.
We just want to feel good. And
Yeah.
so everyone wants that. So that's what we do in Body Love. We do a lot of things. We talk about getting our desires and getting into our body. We do movement, we do practices. It's really fun. It's just women getting together with the focus of how can we have a new healthy relationship with our bodies.
Yes, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Before we go, is there anything else you would like to share, or anything I may have forgotten?
Hmm. Oh, let's see. I just want to say, trust yourself. Trust yourself. You're on the right path. Sometimes it feels like we're not on the right path, but sometimes the resistance and the struggle, that's actually part of the path. So if you're in resistance or struggle, or you feel like you're not getting it right, you're actually on the path, because we're here not only to experience the things we want, but we're here to experience contrast. If it was all just the way we wanted it to be, what would we be working towards? We're here having a human experience of being the best we can be. Like, I think that's fun. Um, and not that we want to work on that all the time, because sometimes you just want to watch Netflix, right?
Right.
But I'm just, my last closing message is trust. You're on the right path and you're doing it right.
Ah, that's beautiful. And I completely agree. I think that's such a powerful message.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your wisdom. So
Mhm.
grateful that you're here. And I want to thank our viewers for taking the time and listening today. I'm so happy that you're taking time for yourself and just embracing it.
Mhm.
And I just want to say that I will see you tomorrow. And thanks again.
Mhm.
Bye.
Thank you, Laurie.